Greetings, family. Thank you so much for joining me for these conversations about clean energy in our state's transition to a green economy. If you are a viewer in the state of Illinois, this presentation is specifically for you. So please let me know where you're watching from. Type it in the comments where you're watching from. And we pray that these series of conversations are helpful to you in understanding what's happening in our state, but also we want to spark conversations within your faith communities about the Clean Energy Jobs Act. So please feel free to share this presentation, feel free to share this information, certainly, and let me know how we can work with you moving forward to continue these conversations. So this is the third presentation that we've given this month about clean energy, and we're hopeful that this won't be the last, that these conversations will continue within your faith community, within your neighborhood, within your family, within the ones that you love, because our state is doing a lot, and there's a lot of things that we need to know about to make sure that the transition to a green economy is an equitable transition and that we have access to good, well-paying, sustainable jobs as we move forward into the future. So welcome once again to our conversations on the Clean Energy Jobs Act. You know that the Proctor Conference is partnering with many others around our state to amplify the clean energy benefits from the Clean Energy Jobs Act, which, if passed, will make sure that we have a just and equitable energy transition as a fundamental human right for all, especially as it relates to ensuring our communities, African American communities of color, have equitable access to clean energy benefits and good paying solar jobs. So you are familiar with us as the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference, and this is our mission. And this work aligns with our mission specifically on addressing critical needs of human rights and social justice within our local, national, and global communities. And what we're doing with the Clean Energy Jobs Act is we're really trying to make sure that our communities are a part of the conversation about clean energy jobs. We want this to be a conversation. We know that when pandemics hit, when disasters hit, when things happen like that, we know that communities of color are hit first and hit the worst. So we know that we need to be a part of this conversation for community restoration. Unemployment has hit our community very hard, specifically in this moment of COVID. So this is an opportunity for us to restore our community, to restore our environment, and help economically support our community members by tapping into these new jobs that are going to be coming out. But let's just take a look really quick at the environmental importance of this whole conversation. Now, before I've told you all a little bit about the importance of this conversation with the warming of the climate, but this article came out just a few days ago, shared by CNN, and it shows the temperature difference in 2020 compared to 1981. And so they said in this article that global warming has brought the planet closer to the 1.5 degrees Celsius warming threshold, what scientists have warned will increase the risk for more extreme wildfires, droughts, floods, and food shortages, potentially impacting hundreds of millions of people. So what does that mean for the United States in particular? Well, this is kind of a picture that was shared by the Fourth National Climate Assessment about what is happening, what will happen in our country. We'll see vulnerable communities and just, from this picture here, you will see mega wildfires, rising sea levels, superstorm after superstorm, droughts, floods, dangerous winter warming trends. Climate change affects the natural, built, and social systems that we rely on. individually and through their connections to one another. These interconnected systems are increasingly vulnerable to cascading impacts that are often difficult to predict, threatening essential services within and beyond the nation's borders. So beyond our borders, why this issue matters is because it's always important. And at the Proctor Conference, we always believe in making the connection from our local to the greater global good. So what we know is that we're all connected and that these trends that we're seeing have effects in our country, but also globally. So this is a picture of the Bahamas. The aftermath of the 2019 storm Dorian was the most powerful storm to hit the country on record. And so as we are seeing the climate change and as we are seeing the human impact of climate change, what scientists are telling us is that there are three ways to move forward. We can mitigate our risks, we can adapt our practices, or we can suffer the consequences. And specifically from a global perspective, we know that wealthy countries are able to buy their way out of these threats attached to climate crisis, and poorer countries and communities will suffer. So it is imperative that we make this shift to a green economy. And it is important that we're a part of these conversations. And it is important that we know all the things that our state is doing so that we can be a part of the solution. Because we are indeed our sisters and our brothers' keeper. So just a quick word about COVID. I've shared this before. We know, as I said before, with pandemics, communities of color are hit first and hit worst. But the important thing about the Clean Energy Jobs Act is that it would improve air quality, which reduces risk and susceptibility to COVID-19, and it would put people back to work, especially in communities of color in places where coal plants operate. So the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, their goal to come up with this Clean Energy Jobs Act is really to mitigate and to adapt, right? The coalition's main goal is to push state lawmakers to strengthen state standards for renewable energy and efficiency, a move advocates say would spark more than 30,000 new jobs in our state each year. The coalition is formed of 55 businesses, environmental and labor and consumer and advocacy leaders. And over the past year, thousands of voices have joined in our state together to create these clean energy conversations. And through these conversations, the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition formed the Clean Energy Jobs Act, building off the successes of the Future Energy Jobs Act. So last week, we talked about the first two policy pillars that the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition advocates for in regards to clean energy. We talked about promoting jobs, equity, and economic opportunity, especially in communities of color. We talked about ensuring how they want to ensure Illinois reaches 100% renewable energy by 2050. But this week, we want to quickly look a little bit deeper into the third and fourth policy pillar. The third pillar is saying reducing the equivalent of 1 million gasoline and diesel-powered vehicles from the road. And we want to look at the fourth policy pillar, achieving a carbon-free power sector by 2030 that creates jobs in communities abandoned by coal-burning companies. So the third pillar, reducing the equivalent of 1 million gasoline, diesel, and powered vehicles from the road. So this is what the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition is saying that they want to happen in our state. And they want this to happen by first empowering communities to develop community energy and climate plans to drive comprehensive local investment in energy, transportation, and the workforce. So these clean energy and community energy, and climate plans are formed to create community-based solutions around renewable energy development, energy efficiency, transportation electrification, and workforce development that utilizes the U.S. Employment Plan. So these are significant points in the community energy and climate plans because they show how the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition's policy pillars they illustrate equity, they illustrate representation, they're people-centered and community-centered. Another aspect of the third policy pillar in reducing the equivalent of 1 million gas and diesel-powered vehicles from the road is to create a new beneficial electrification initiative to incentivize electric vehicle charging focused on vehicles that create local health impacts. So this is another way that the Illinois Jobs Coalition proposes to get to 1 million diesel-powered vehicles and gasoline-powered vehicles off the road. A little bit more about this beneficial electrification initiative. It supports 1.2 million new electric vehicles in our state, with one requirement that these plans must be cost effective. They must create more savings than they cost. And some aspects of this beneficial electrification initiative is it directs utilities to provide a rebate program that averages $35.5 million a year to support the electrification of public transit and school buses and fleet vehicles for routes serving low-income and environmental justice communities. It directs utilities to offer a rebate program that provides $500 to customers installing electric vehicle and charging infrastructure that commit to charge at off-peak hours or other beneficial times. So this includes time of use rates and optimized charging programs. This has a lot of money that will support this program, specifically targeted towards low-income communities. And I really appreciate this because what we know is that with this transition to electric vehicles in our state, this is just a picture of, kind of shows you the south side of Chicago. And as you can see, all the green dots are the electric charging stations. So the infrastructure to support electric vehicles simply doesn't exist in so many of our communities. So these incentives with money, with rebate programs, with providing money towards electric vehicles and charging infrastructure, it matters so much specifically to us because, as you can see, they don't exist in our communities currently. Another aspect of this pillar is it creates an electric vehicle access for all program to ensure all Illinois residents can benefit from electric vehicles and supports the creation of low-income electric vehicle car sharing and last-mile electric shuttles to serve transit deserts. And this is another way. Equity is a common thread throughout these policy pillars. It supports getting 1 million cars off the road by targeting low-income communities that need kind of the most support in making this transition. So in summary, the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition believes in electrifying transportation, and they believe that our state can set new targets for electrification of transportation and create a planning process to ensure the transition away from fossil fuels vehicles lowers the cost of the electric grid. So there's plans in place to support this transition, and our communities needs to be aware of all of these resources. The fourth pillar from the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition is achieving a carbon-free power sector in our state by 2030 that creates jobs in communities abandoned by coal-burning companies. And how they propose to do that is first, directing the Illinois EPA to begin a comprehensive stakeholder process that prioritizes carbon reductions in impacted communities and reduces harmful pollution from power plants to zero by 2030. This includes a requirement for utilities to participate in a low-income energy efficiency leadership committee to make improvements to their energy portfolios. So not only is there equity, not only is there transparency, but there's also accountability in making sure that utility companies are providing information out of their portfolios. Another aspect of this pillar is creating a clean energy empowerment zone to support communities and workers who are impacted by the decline of this fossil fuel generation. And this is so important. A closer look at these clean energy empowerment zones, they will be made to target new investment into our state by tax credits, and they will be made to support workers in the impacted by past or upcoming closure of fossil fuel power plants or coal mines. So it wants to provide $100 million annually in financial assistance to entities in clean energy empowerment zones impacted by lower property tax revenue from a plant or mine closure. Another aspect of the clean energy empowerment zones is that they will direct the convening of a local clean energy empowerment zone task force to engage local stakeholders to inform community transition needs. And another aspect of these empowerment zones is the use of the displaced. It will create and use the Displaced Energy Workers Bill of Rights. And this will provide energy workers notification in 2 years in advance of plant mine closures, career services, financial plannings, and even, and this is really, really great, scholarships to our state public universities or community colleges if they are displaced workers. And this also creates a 7-member Energy Transition Workforce Commission to develop a report and plan to implement programs to support communities and workers. So these community energy empowerment zones are truly holistic, and they're great resources. I mean, they will be great resources specifically for our communities if they are, if we know people who will be impacted by a closure, that there are all of these resources available to them if that was to happen. For another point supporting the 4th policy pillar is it directs the Illinois Power Association to procure clean energy and capacity resources to achieve consumer savings and expand renewables investments. So this also includes provision for the Illinois Pollution Control Board, asking them to adopt rules establishing declining caps for each fossil fuel powered plant in our state, as well as aggregate annual statewide emission caps. So these are statewide plans to bring our carbon footprint down to achieve a carbon-free power sector by 2030. So in summary, this policy pillar, creating carbon-free power, the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition believes that our state can transition its power sector away from fossil fuels by 2030, support workers and communities impacted by the decline of coal, and expand clean energy generation jobs in our state. Now, of course, we've talked before about how our community will benefit from a clean energy future. So we know specifically around these 2 points, the sustainable careers. Considering the multiple pandemics we are facing, We know that our community now is more vulnerable than ever. These policy pillars make sense for our future. Economic relief, we talked about the money savings, the incentives, the support in jobs, job creation, job seeking, being connected to jobs. We need a holistic justice embodied in policy that will ease the burden of maintaining our livelihoods by promoting smaller bills and clean air. And I would add on to that, that would connect us to well-paying, sustainable jobs that would help us, ease our livelihood into the future. How will we benefit? Of course, our wellness is tied into this. We want improved air quality. Specifically during this COVID-19 moment, we want representation as our state makes the transition to a green economy. We believe that you are the trusted messengers. You can most effectively bring this important information about these 4 policy pillars to your loved ones, to your community, to your congregations. So we are so excited that you are a part, that you're listening, and that you're giving us feedback, and that you've been a part of these conversations with us. And we hope that they will continue into the future. So in summary, how will we benefit? Of course, there's access to lower cost energy alternatives, community restoration, there's equity involved in all of these policy pillars, sustainable, well-paying jobs. At the end of the day, we want to connect our communities to sustainable, well-paying jobs. We know that the Clean Energy Jobs Act would put our state on a path to 100% renewable energy by 2050, eliminate carbon emissions from the power sector by 2030. It would electrify an equivalent of 1.2 million vehicles, and it would create jobs and economic opportunity for every part of our state. You can help us create a clean energy future. And it's about education and action. We want you to talk about these pillars. We want you to talk to us about these policy pillars. We want you to talk to your families and your communities about these policy pillars. We want to give voice to the benefits that are important to you and your communities. And we want to give voice because these are resources that we must know about and take advantage of. We want you to share this information, and we want you to have your own conversation. So let us know, let me know, put it in the comments. Feel free to email me, go to our website, be in contact with us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Let us know about your interest in the clean energy benefits in our state. We know that CJA can't wait, and it's so important that we are having these conversations and sharing this information. Because often when these conversations are being had about clean energy and climate science, we know that communities of color are left out. So we're grateful. We're grateful to be a part of this work, to make sure that our communities, African-American communities in our state, are represented. We know that the Clean Energy Jobs Act can't wait. So please be in touch with me, tiauna@stbconference.info. You can email me and let me know if you have any interest in providing this type of conversation to your community, or if you have any questions or just want to share feedback. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for journeying with us in this clean energy conversations. And of course, they will continue from here. Have a great day.